Hello, welcome to episode 110 of the Datapack tutorial series, version 1.21. We're going to be making RPG items using attributes. So if the item is in the correct hand, you do have the correct requirements in statistics, then you're going to get an attribute. So we've got three different items. One works when you're wearing it in an armor slot, one works when it's in your main hand, one works when it's in your offhand. Let's test them. Okay, first, chainmail helmet, let's put it on. I can move faster, I can jump higher. Okay, because I do have the required attributes. Now, I'm only using two attributes. I have dexterity and I have strength. And I need one in both of those scores to be able to use these items. Obviously, you can change that. So if I set my dexterity to 0, and I take the hat off, and I equip it, it doesn't work anymore. Well, I need a dexterity of 1. So let's set my dexterity back to 1. And we'll re-equip the hat. And now it's back. Okay, so it's based on my scores for my different statistics. All these items, just to keep them simple, use strength and dexterity. You can add magic and vitality and all sorts of other stuff if you want. The emerald is exactly the same, but it works in the main hand. And the music disc is the same, but it works in the offhand. Okay, so what we're doing is we have an item. When our inventory changes, we check the item and we say, is it in the right hand? If it is, we say, do you have the right statistics? Are you high enough levels to be able to use it? If you are, it copies the attribute from the item's custom data and turns it into an actual attribute which affects the player. And then when you unequip it, it takes the attribute off the item and stores it again as data. That's what we're going to be doing. Thank you to Galsergi for the commands for this. Anyway, enough waffling. It's going to be a long one, so let's get on and build it now. Okay, here we are in VS Code. I've added a load of folders and files. Let's have a look to see what I've added. Inside my namespace, I've added the folder advancement. Inside there, invchange.json. Inside my namespace function folder, I've added a folder called RPG, and I've added apply macro, apply, give armor, give main, give off, inv change, remove macro, remove, tick player, update hotbar, update item, and we've got the load of the tick, which we will be using, and inside my namespace, I've added the folder predicate, and we have requirements.json. Now, all of these are empty at the moment, and if you miss one off at the beginning, don't worry, because you'll find out later, and you can just add it. No problem. Right, I think we'll probably start with the load. Well, not probably, we will. And we'll make some scoreboard. Scoreboard, objectives, add, and let's add our statistics. So I'm going to add strength. It's going to be the dummy. Home, copy, and add another one. And we'll just call that dexterity. Now, so those are going to be my only two statistics that my sort of RPG is going to be using. Obviously, if you wanted another one, you can just add it on. Let's have, well, you need a magic level to use this one. You can add it on if you want. So that's how we're going to set up the statistics to start with. Then we want a trigger so we can view our statistics. So let's do scoreboard, objectives, add, and I suppose we'll just call it stats. Trigger. And now we're going to want to set up some data. And this is going to be for slot name conversion. So we'll do data, merge, into storage. We need a storage name. Let's call it ID database. Open and close curlies. And inside here, we'll have a list of slots and their alternative names. So if something is in slot 106, that is the offhand. Then the name of that slot is weapon.offhand. If something is in slot 100, the name of that slot is armor feat. If something is in slot 101, the name of that slot is, it starts at the bottom, doesn't it? So that this will be armor legs. If something is in slot 102, the name of the slot is armor, is it chest plate? No, it's just chest. Chest. And if something is in 103, then the slot name is armor armor.head. Yes, armor.head. Okay, so we've set up some data. Now we can use that later because we're going to get a slot number, but we need a slot name. So we can say, oh, well, if you're in slot -106, then your name is weapon offhand. That's what we're going to be using this for. Let's close this. What should we do? Let's give the items. So let's give the items. That's a good start. Let's start with the helmet. Since I'm in there, give the executor. We had to chainmail, didn't we? Chainmail helmet. And then open and close square. We're going to need some custom data. Custom data equals close. In here, right, we'll start with the requirements. What statistics do you need to use this item? You can use the item, you can put it on your head, but you don't get the attribute buff if you don't have the statistics. So let's do requirements. And in there we'll have a list. Now I've only got 2, so I'm going to do strength. And I'll say, well, you need a level of 1 for that to work. And dexterity. And for that to work, you need a level 1. So now, to use this item, I need strength 1, dexterity 1. If you added something new like magic, make sure to add it here as well. So magic 0. So my magic level could be anything. So each stat has to be listed in here. If I didn't have that in here, I would have no magic level, I assume. And then it's going to say, well, you've got strength 1 and dexterity 1, but you've got no magic. So I don't know what to do. So we add the extra stats in there if you are going to have any. I'm not. I'm just having strength and dexterity. Okay, so we've got some requirements. After them, what are we going to have? We're going to have, well, let's call it bonus. And this is going to be a list of attributes. So I think, how will we do this? Let's open and close cut. I've called it bonus. You saw that while I was looking away, didn't you? Bonus. We will have slot armor head, isn't it? It's a chainmail helmet, so armor.head. That's for the slot it has to be in. And then we want to list some attributes. Attributes. There's going to be a list, and inside there we're going to have 2 attributes. So you can have 1 if you want, but this system will be able to handle multiple attributes. So I'm going to have 1 attribute in there, and I'm going to have another one in there. Okay, let's make the attributes. So an attribute will need a type. And I'm in version 1.21, so I need the word generic. Generic dot jump strength. So that's its type. Now it's going to need an ID. ID. Now I'm going to call it ID. I'm going to say ID, but this ID is for infernal device. So you don't have to put ID. You can put whatever you like there. And I'll put jump. That'll do. Jump. Then it'll need a value. Let's just do 0.5. That's what I had it set to before. I was jumping quite high, but now we need a slot. So you notice we've got slot up the top, armor.head, but it's also contained within our attribute there as well. Okay, so that's one attribute. It's going to add generic jump strength with an ID of ID jump. It's going to add a 0.5 to the value, and it's going to work if the item is on our head. Now I'm just going to copy that, and I'm going to paste it over our other little bracket there. Let's have 2 attributes. Well, we don't want jump strength twice, so this one I will change to movement underline speed, and we'll just call it ID speed. And I'm not going to change the values because it still has to work on the head, and we'll say 0.5 for the value as well. So let's save that. Let's go back to Minecraft, do a reload, run a function to give ourselves that armor, and let's do a data get from an entity selected item Okay, so we can see components. It's got custom data. The custom data's got our requirements, dexterity 1, strength 1. It's got a bonus. Okay, all seems good. Right, so if I put that on my head now, it's going to do nothing because those attributes are stored as custom data. They're not actually applied to the item. If you wear it in the right slot and you have the right requirements, then we will take those attributes from the custom data and we'll turn them into actual attributes on the item. That's what we'll be doing to make it work. Right, anyway, we've got one item. Let's just copy this. Copy, and we'll go for a main item. So this is going to work anywhere on the hotbar, main for main hand. And we'll change what item it is. I believe I used an emerald before, so let's do that again. We'll keep strength and dexterity the same. Bonus slot, well, not armor head this time. This time we want it to work as weapon.mainhand. We'll keep the attributes the same, but the slot, we'll change the slot, and the slot will be called main hand. So let's copy that from there to there. Okay, save that one. Let's copy it and take it over to the offhand. Pretty similar. Let's change the item. And I'm going to use a music disc just as another example because let's use music disc cat. Now you can put this in a jukebox. So I'm going to add to this one jukebox playable equals, and it's also munched over my custom data words there. Actually, we just put not jukebox playable. Yeah, like that. And I better put custom data back there. Custom data. Okay, so now it's a music disc, but we can't play it in a jukebox. It's got all the same data, but this is for the offhand. So let's change this slot to offhand. Let's change this one to offhand. And this one to offhand. I should point out that this slot here is actually weapon.offhand. This first slot, bonus slot, and then the attributes themselves just say offhand. So we've got 3 different items. We might as well pop over and give themselves to us, ourselves, give them to ourselves. We might as well learn how to speak because it makes tutorials much better. Okay, let's do, did I just do a reload? I think I did, but I'm doing it again just in case. Function, good old Functino. So we've got the armor, let's give the main, and let's give the offhand as well. Now we've got our 3 items. Cool, well, let's go back. Right, I think the thing, let's set up, thing to do next is set up our advancement and our predicate because we're going to be using those. So let's have an advancement for when our inventory changes. So we'll go over to misode. We're in the advancement generator. Let's call this inv changed. Let's set that. Its trigger is going to be inventory changed. Yes. Do we want some conditions? I'll tell you what, let's add a condition. So the player as an object, I believe. Yes, then we can do type specific. We can say it's a player. And then we can say they have to be in survival or adventure. Yeah, so it's only going to, yeah, so they have to be in survival or adventure. And what's their reward? What are they going to get for it? As usual, we'll be running a function, so let's put a placeholder in there. Let's copy that, take it back, paste it into our advancement file, and let's update this function. The function I'm going to call is ID, my namespace, inventory changed. That is why I usually name the advancement the same as the function. Makes it very obvious which goes with which. Okay, so that should be running inventory change. Let's do a save. Let's set up our predicate. So let's go back to misode, but let's do a little reset in case we come back there. Let's go to predicate. And what do we want to check? We want to check entity scores. Entity will be this. Scores, I'm going to check the strength. So this is where I'm going to list all my different stats that are available. Dexterity. Now, if you were doing magic as well or others, then you would add those in as well. We're not, so we're just doing those two first. It's not going to be an integer though. We're going to check an object for both of them. So let's set them both to object. Then we're going to set minimum as an object. So let's do that for both of them. And the type, we're going to check storage. So let's do that for both of them. Storage, I'm going to be storing the data inside ID data. So let's set that up for both. And the path, the MBT path inside there, will be rec strength. Now make sure we spell that correctly, otherwise this is not going to work. So that's going to be checking requirement strength. And this one is going to be checking requirement dexterity. So I think you can guess, if you were also checking magic, you would be checking for requirement magic. Now that looks all right. So let's copy that. Let's have a little look. Minimum type is storage. Yeah, let's copy that. Take it back, pop it into our predicate, and save that. Okay, let's do a little test of inventory changed. So really the only condition at the moment is I have to be in survival or adventure. So let's go to inventory changed. Let's advancement, revoke at S only, ID, inventory changed, and let's just say changed. Let's save that. Let's go back. Let's do a reload. Okay, well, if I throw something out, changed, pick something up, changed, move it to the hotbar, changed, move it back, change. Okay, so it's detecting when I'm, what if I just pick something up in creative? Now, nothing is happening because I'm in creative. Remember, we're checking for survival and adventure. Cool. Let's go back. Okay. I think what we'll do is we'll do the inventory changed. I think I'm going to move that advancement. We're going to have that at the bottom of the file. And let's put revoke. Okay. What are we going to do in here? I want to clear some data. Clear some data. Data. Strange way to pronounce it. I want to check armor slots. I want to check hotbar. I want to check offhand. So I want to check armor. I want to check hotbar. And I want to check offhand. Okay, I don't think we need such a big space there. Let's try and keep everything on the screen. Let's clear some data. Data remove from storage. ID data inv. Okay, now I'm just going to check my load. Here we've called it ID database. And here we're calling it ID data. That is correct, so don't worry about that. So we're clearing the inv. And I seem to have missed off here because I need to copy the player's inventory. So let's do that. We will data modify storage ID data inv set from entity at S inventory. So ID data.inv now contains my inventory. Now we want to check the slots. So what we'll do is we will execute if items entity at S armor.head contains any item, but that item must have custom data tilde not equals tilde or tilde, and it must have bonus, and inside the bonus it must have slot, and it must have armor.head, and if it, I'm glad I spotted that, armor.head, and if it does, then we will run function update item and we'll pass it some data, and the data we'll pass it will be slot 103. Okay, so slot armor head, where's it getting that from? When we gave ourselves the armor, we have bonus slot armor dot head. So it's checking for that. So for my chainmail helmet, it's going to say, you do have that. And we'll set the slot to 103. But obviously it might not be in your head slot, so we're going to have 4 of those. And we're going to want to check. Maybe it's in the chest slot. Maybe it's in the legs slot. Or maybe it's in the feet slot. And we'll change the numbers correspondingly. If it is in the chest, we'll pass 102. If it's in the legs, we'll pass 101. And if it's on the feet, we'll pass 100. Okay, so we're getting the correct slot if it's in, or the correct slot number if it's in one of the armor slots. Well, let's do a hotbar check. Now, this is a little bit harder, so, well, it's pretty much the same, but let's farm it out to another function. So we will execute if items entity at S. Now, this time, though, we're checking for anything on the hotbar. Hotbar.star, anything. Any hotbar slot, star, any item, open and close. In fact, what I might just do is copy this here, paste it in there, custom data, bonus, slot, weapon.mainhand, because if it's on your hotbar, it's going to be in our main hand if it's selected, and we will run function update hotbar, and we're not going to pass it anything. Okay, and now in offhand, let's just copy one of these. Copy, paste, execute if items entity S. Aha, what's the name of this one? It's called weapon.offhand. Any item bonus slot equals weapon.offhand. Then run function. What's the slot number of the offhand? -106, isn't it? So update item is being passed the slot number of the item, apart from the hotbar. So let's do, I think probably best to go off to hotbar. Okay, let's go and do the update hotbar. Now, this is just going to be a load of checks for the slot, basically. So we're going to do execute if items entity at S hotbar, that's a horse, hotbar.0 is any item. That item has custom data tilde. Inside there is bonus. Inside bonus is slot. Slot must equal weapon.mainhand. If it does, then run function update item, and we'll pass it the slot number, which would be slot 0. Okay. And what we're going to do is copy that. So we've got a 0, we've got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's just change all these. 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5, 6, 6, 7, 7, another counting with Infernal. We do quite a few of these. 8. So, this is basically doing the same as all of these. All we're doing is getting this slot number. That's all we're doing. We're looking for the item and going, oh, it's in slot 103, it's in slot 102, it's in slot 101, it's in slot 100, it's in slot -106, or it's in slot 1, 2, 3. You can see what we're doing. And we're passing that slot number to update item. So that's cool. Let's keep going. I suppose the next logical place to go would be to update item. Whoop, let's go here. Right, in here. Again, we're going to clear some storage. We'll call it clear data. we're going to store some item data. We'll store item requirements. We will store slot, and we're going to have another store slot. Store slot, bit weird, we've got two. We will apply, so we need to add the attributes, so we'll do apply attribute if requirements are met, and that will be a return, so that's going to have a run return. If we don't return, then we will remove the attribute. Okay, clear data, it's going to be a nice easy one. Data remove from storage, ID data, and we'll call it item. Now let's store the item data. Okay, let's do it as a non-macro first. We will data modify storage ID data item merge from storage ID data inv, open and close that. Inside we'll open and close. I will say slot equals 0b. That is the first slot of my hotbar. We need to change that bit. Remember, we've just done a load of stuff in update hotbar to get the actual slot number. So this will become macroified, my new word. Dot components. Components. Can we spell it, please? Dot Minecraft custom data. So this is going to copy into ID data item, or it's going to merge in there from ID data currently in my hotbar slot, and it's going to get the item components and it's going to get the item custom data. So it would be getting all the custom data. Nice. Okay. But obviously we don't know where the item is. That's what our inv changed here is doing. We are getting the slots and we're passing it as slot. So that's what we need to use. So let's go here. We don't want slot 0b. We'll keep the b. We need the bytes. But we want to use the information we passed, which we called slot. It's not happy because it doesn't know that it's using data that was passed. There we go. Put a $sign on the beginning. Now we want to store the item requirements. So I think what we'll do there is data modify storage ID data, and we'll just call it rec, and we'll set that set from storage ID data item dot rec. So we've just copied all the custom data into ID data item, and now we're just going to pull out the requirements. So we've copied all of that data, and now we're just going to pull out the requirements. So we've got them, so we can now access them. Let's store a slot. Data modify storage ID data item dot bonus dot attributes dot entity slot set value to container dot 0. Okay, so that's going to set it to container.0. That would be the first slot on my hotbar. Again, we need to change that because we could have it in any slot. So let's pop that on there. And let's say you are using past data. Let's make sure we spell bonus correctly. We're going to have problems. So we're now in item bonus attributes. We are modifying the entity slot so it says container.0. number. Now I'm going to copy that. And I'm going to paste it here. We're going to modify it slightly. This one we're going to set from storage ID database slots dot slot. So what it's going to do, it's going to overwrite this one, but this is what I'm thinking here. We're going to overwrite this one, but only if it finds slots dot slot. So let's have a look at our load function. So in slots we have minus 106, minus 100, 101, 102, 103. So if it comes along and finds that, it's going to say, oh, it's 103. I better change that. I better change that to armor head. Or maybe it comes and goes, oh, it's 106. I better change this to weapon offhand. Or maybe it comes along and it's saying slot sort of 0. And it just goes, oh, well, there is no 0 here, so I won't copy anything. So if it's in one of the armor slots of the offhand, we are overwriting. Now we need to apply the attribute if the requirements meet. And we've done our predicate, so we can do execute if, I spelt it right, didn't feel like I did. Requirements, run, return, run. So if the requirements are met, we're going to do something and exit the function. What we're going to do is we're going to run a function and we're going to run apply. We're going to apply the requirements. If they're not met, then this run return won't run and we'll end up down here, in which case we'll run the function remove. Save. Okay. Now I feel like we should be able to do a little bit of test. Let's go to apply. Can we just say apply? And let's hope that we're getting some sort of result happening. I chuck it. It says apply. Yeah, and inventory. Okay, that's good. That's good. What if I put this on my head? Apply. I can see it happening down there. So that's pretty good. And it should be checking our requirements. So if I change, where are they? Dexterity to 0. Now I throw it and I pick it up. My requirements aren't matching. So it's not saying apply anymore. Dexterity back to 1. Cool. Right, that seems good. That was a lot to type in without a test, to be honest. So it's quite nice to know that it is working. Right. So we've got as far as, okay, we know where the item is. We know your requirements match. We've got all the custom data stored. Let's pass that custom data to a macro. So let's do function apply macro with storage ID data item dot bonus dot attributes open and close -1, the last attribute in the list. Item bonus attributes. If we go back to update item, we can see we've copied the data here. We've copied all the data from the components, custom data, into item. And so what we're looking at now, let's go to a give attributes. Here we go. We are looking at this. And we're going to have 2 entries. We're going to have 1, which is the jump, and we'll have 2, which is the movement speed. Now, movement speed is at the end, so when we here are saying pass it the last one, what we're doing is passing it the movement speed. So what we're going to do is loop through. So let's go to apply macro. Right, we need to apply the current one. So let's do it as a non-macro first. Let's do item modify entity S. Okay, here's our first problem. We need a slot. Let's just hard code in container 0. Open and close. We will have a function, colon. The function will be Minecraft set attributes. We'll have modifiers, open and close a list. Inside there, we're going to have 1. Inside here, we will have attribute. Let's say, let's just do armor. That'll do. Generic armor. It will need an ID. Let's call it ID armor. It will need an amount. Let's say 0.5. It's an amount, isn't it? I've put it in speak. There we go. Sorry, amount. I know you're a number. It will need an operation. The operation will be add value, and it will need a slot that it works in. So let's just say any. Okay, I'm going to put at the end here, replace false, because I don't want to be replacing anything because I've got more to add later. Okay, so we've made an item modifier. We're going to modify the item and we're going to set its attributes, and we're going to give it the attribute armor with an ID of armor, an amount of 0.5 and a slot of any. Okay, so let's macroify this and let's get the data that was stored. So let's have a look what we've got. Well, we have inside attributes, we have a type, we have an ID, we have a value, and we have a slot. So those are the things we're going to want to be copying. We don't have an operation. The operation is always going to be add value, so we don't worry about that one. So attribute, well, that's its type. So what we'll do is we'll take out generic armor and we'll replace that. Please use the type I passed you. Okay, the ID. We'll take out the ID. Notice that we're keeping those speech marks though. And we will pass the ID. Amount. Well, oh, what did we call that? I think we called that value. So we'll pass the value. Operation stays the same. Slot, we will need the slot. And we did actually call that slot. And now we will say you are a macro. Okay, so now what we're doing is we're item modifying and we're applying the information that was given to us in our custom data. Cool. So we've done the last one. So in our example, we've added movement speed. Well, we've still got one more to add. So let's go back. We've added the first one. Now what we'll do is we'll remove the last entry. So we'll say data remove from storage, ID data, item dot bonus dot attributes -1. Now we'll just have a look at that. Is that the same as we called it in apply? Item bonus attributes -1. Yep. So we've applied the movement speed. Now we've removed it from our list. And if there are still more attributes in the list, we better loop around and keep adding them till we run out. So let's do function, and we're basically just going to call ourselves apply macro with storage ID data, and I'm just going to copy this rather than type it all out again. Okay, so add the last attribute in the list. Remove the last attribute in the list. Are there still more attributes in the list? Okay, well then run this again with the new last attribute, and so on and so on and so on. So if you had 20 attributes in that list, it would just cycle through until they all ran out and then go, right, I've added them all. Let's save that. Now I think we can test that. Okay, let's do a reload. One of these works in the main hand. Not this one. Let's check our scores just in case. Dexterity is 1. Strength is 1. Let's try the helmet, put it on our head. Wonderful. Nothing is happening. Let's do function. And we've got apply and apply macro. Okay, let's have a look and see if we've made some little silly mistake. We'll start with apply. We knew we were getting here because we did a say command and we had a look at it, didn't we? So we are sending it the attributes, apply macro. Should we just pop a say hi, save, reload, hi, 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 hi. Well, it's saying hi. How many times is it saying it when I go through? Oh, I took a screenshot just because I really needed one. Don't know why. Hi, 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 hi. So it seems to be saying it twice. That's one for each attribute. Have we made a mistake and it's not applying it? Attribute type, ID, value, add value, slot. They all seem good. Now, we didn't change container. It's only going to work if it's in container 0. Actually, well, does that mean that if we use the offhand item, which one was if we use the offhand item and it is in 0, okay, so that one works. The main hand item, sorry, main hand, not offhand. So if we put that back here, okay, we seem to be working on that one. Let me go back. Right, let us look again at our give armor. What we need to get that entity slot. Okay, so apply is calling with item bonus attributes. No problem. What's calling apply? Update item. Here it is. Entity slot. Slots. That's what it's called. Data modify storage, ID, bonus attributes, entity slot. That's what we need. Let's go into the macro and change this slot check here to entity slot. Let's save that. Well, let's go back. Well, let's do a reload. Okay, well, we know you're working. Let's put you into the offhand. Now you work in the offhand. And let's pop our chainmail helmet on. Ooh. Okay. Cool. Right. Now the problem is, that's all working very well, but those attributes are now on those items. So so if I gave this item to someone else, if I do data get entity myself selected item, not only have I got the custom data, I've also got the attribute modifiers. They are on that item now, which means effectively what I've made is I've made a system where I can unlock attributes. So someone else could say, hey, my levels aren't high enough. Can you unlock this attribute for me? And I unlock it and I just give them the item back. Okay, now that might be good if that's the sort of system you want. Maybe you could charge people to unlock their attributes. Not what I want though. I want to take these attributes off again. So let's close the windows down. And we are in update item. We've just done apply. If our requirements don't match, then let's do remove. And it's going to be relatively similar, to be honest, to apply. So I think we'll open apply. And we'll open apply macro. And we'll open remove. And we'll open remove macro. Okay, we'll do remove. Let's go to apply. Well, let's copy that. Copy. And let's go to remove and paste it in. But we're not going to be calling apply macro. We are going to be calling remove macro. Copying, pasting stuff from one function to another. Always a problem. Let's have a look at this. Function, remove macro. Yeah. with storage data, the items in the list. Yeah, that seems fine. Okay, let's save that. Now let's do the more complicated one. Apply macro, let's copy all of that. And put it into remove macro. So we're going to go through. At the moment, this is doing exactly the same thing. So I think what we want to do basically is we're just going to change the amount. Yeah, we'll modify the item in that slot. Yeah. Of that type. Yeah. That ID. Yeah. It has to work in that slot. Yeah. And I think if we just set the amount to 0, basically job done. And let's change this so it calls itself again. There we go. So we're not actually going to remove the attributes. All we're going to do is so they add no bonus. So the attributes are still on there, just they don't do anything. Okay, so let's try that. Let's go back. Okay, little cut there. Sorry, doorbell ringing. What we were doing, it's completely thrown me off. I've been a while. Yes, we were just removing the components, weren't we? So let's check our item now. Let's do a data get entity me inventory slot 0. Well, first one in the list, and I've only got one item on me. Well, I think I have. Let's have a look. Yeah, just on my head slot there. Okay, and let's have a look. Let's zoom in a bit further. Let's go to the components attribute modifiers. Let's do that. Inventory components. Oh my. Minecraft attribute modifiers. Okay, let's go to that. Right. So I do have the stats and I've put it on, and we've got a 0.5 and 0.5 on these attribute modifiers. So if I scoreboard players set me strength to 0, now I shouldn't have the stats. So let's equip it. I don't have the effect. Let's check the... There we go. Okay, so they've set to 0, 0. Cool. So if I did put this on and I do have the stats, it unlocks those modifiers, and then if I give it to someone else, they're going to put it on and it's going to say, no, 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 you don't have the stats, and we'll set those two amounts to 0. So that seems to be working nicely. Let's try the other items as well. You don't do it with give, you do it with function. That's the armor, that's the main hand, and we'll try the offhand one as well. Okay, so this is in my main hand, it's not doing anything. That's not doing anything. Let's put my strength back to 1. Offhand is now working, and main hand is now working. Okay, all is good in the world. It'd be nice to be able to check my stats though. So let's do a simple way for the player to check their stats. And we set up a trigger in the load. So we have a stats trigger, and then we'll use that. So let's go off to tick, and let's make a tick player function because we've got one of those. So let's just execute as all players. Run function tick player. To be honest, for this simple version, you could probably put that directly in tick. I don't like to put things directly in tick. I like to farm them out to another function. What do we want to do in here? Let's enable the trigger. Scoreboard players enable S dexterity. No, stats. That's the trigger name. Then we'll do a tell raw. Tell raw at S. Ooh, we better check their score. Scores equals stat. Delivery man, throw my brain right off. Stats equals 1 or higher. Ooh, let's do it with a translate. Okay, I don't use these enough. Galsergi uses these a bit. I got to get used to them, so we're going to use one. We're going to say translate, open and close, no, open and close speech marks, and we're going to have a space. Let's say strength, colon, and we'll put a % sign, and let's do a next line. Ooh, next line. I have to use my keyboard shortcuts for this because I don't have this key on my keyboard. There we go. Let me get one of them. Alt 92. So that'll give me a next line. So it's going to say strength, and then we'll have a space, and we'll say dexterity, and we'll put a % sign. Okay, so now we need to say, well, what are these % signs? So after that, we will have a comma. Those aren't speech marks. And this will say with. And this is going to be, the first one we list will be the first % mark. The second one we put will be the second % mark. So in here we're going to have two things. We're going to have 1 for the first % mark, 2 for the second one. It's going to be a score. In fact, they're both going to be scores, aren't they? The scores are done like this. We need a name for the score, so the name will be the player. We need an objective for the score. The objective, I suppose, would be their strength. So first one in this list matches first here. So yep. Now let's just copy that one. Copy, paste it over that one, and we'll look at you and go, why aren't you working? So we'll undo what we just did. Okay, so you're not happy. What's wrong with you? Oh, you're not happy because you haven't got the information you need. Yeah, well, that's fine. I'm going to put that in there. So let's copy the score. Copy. Put you in there. Why aren't you happy? Expected a key. Oh, do we need speech marks around that? Yes, we do. Silly infernal. There we go. So the first one, strength, goes with strength. The second one, strength, goes with dexterity. No, second one should be dexterity. There we go. Save. And then we better reset their score. Scoreboard, players, reset, S, whose scores equals stats equals 1 or higher, stats. Okay, let's go back. Let's do a reload. Reload. Please tell me my stats. Trigger stats. Haha. Oh, we definitely made a mistake there then. Let's fix it. Okay. 1, dexterity doesn't seem to have a space after it. Dexterity, space. Oh, well, what we've done is we've just put the %. I need to put something after that. Little S there. And a little S there. And we'll save that. Here we go. But I say this is the easy part. Here's me messing it all up right at the end of the video. And we'll trigger our stats. And this time it's going to pull out the information it needs. So when I pick up an item, you could give the item lore and say what stats are required. I've got strength 1, dexterity 1. If I modify that, let's set my strength to 0. I'll check my stats again. My strength is 0. My dexterity is 1. If I try and use my offhand item, it does not work. I give myself a bit more strength. Maybe I level up. I use my offhand item, and I can whiz around. Okay, that was a bit of a long one. We did it with enchantments. That was pretty quick. Now we've done it with attributes. And, well, I think now you can give yourself, I think these are better. You've got more options, it feels, in a way. But you can give yourself enchantments for an RPG, or you can give yourself attributes on items for an RPG. You can level up. You need a leveling sort of system. I don't know what you're going to use for that. You can make up whatever you like, I suppose, to be honest. Anyway, it's been so long. My brain's all fried and I'm waffling on, aren't I? So I think I will let you go. I will see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.